Hello. So we don't have anything in the agenda except that are we going to extend this meeting until the end of 1.36 or what do you think? So please, if you have any other agenda items, please feel free to add it here.
Is the agenda doc linked to the meeting?
It is, yes, it is the same. I'm planning to split this document into, like a separate just for agenda once we have a channel. Once we have a channel and link it there. Okay, so are we going to extend this meeting? Are we okay to extend this meeting until the end of this release, or what do you think? What's your opinion here?
It looks like we have an agenda item for next week.
Yeah, we have one for next week, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Sorry, go on.
no, I just wanted to say, like, we definitely need a meeting, right? To basically sync, discuss some problems like designs, proposals, etc. that we have. I guess now we have probably slow week after very intense weeks before the cap freeze, but very soon, probably next week or like 2 weeks from now, another intense period will begin when we are close to the code freeze. Like we discussed during the sig-scheduling meeting, right? Whether we could join those two meetings like for some time. I'm personally like fine with that even more. Like with 3 small kids, it's really sometimes tough to me to meet at like evenings. But yeah, like I will do whatever we decide here. So
I think let's extend that until we feel like it's there is no need for it, and we can have it early if this is okay with everyone. We can have it 8 a.m. PST time, which is 2 hours earlier, if this is okay with everyone.
So Wojtek cannot do it like 2 hours earlier, right? But like 1 hour, that was what we agreed on, I think. At least said, we haven't heard any.
1 hour earlier works for me. Yeah. Maybe even 1.5. I like 8:30 PST. I can also do.
Yeah, I think it's 5 p.m. Your time is not available for you, right? Yeah. This should be like 8 p.m. your time, something like that. So that should be okay. Okay. So let me extend the invitation after this meeting, and I will change the day, the time, to be 2 hours early, if that's okay with everyone.
You mean 1 hour earlier?
1 hour, yeah.
1 hour? Okay, 1 hour. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
But actually, 1 hour it might conflict with the SIG apps meeting. So if we need like if we need magic, we might not be able to have them. This is just FYI. But let's move it 1 hour early and let's see. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so are we staying with Monday then? And
you wanted it to be on Thursday, like bi-weekly, right?
just asking. I don't know. Like, if we need a weekly meeting, it's fine as well.
I'd say let's keep it, and if we feel like it's like the time is not good, or like we need to cancel or change it later, we can do it. That's totally fine.
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
If we need a weekly,
Yeah.
it's okay.
All right. So
Yeah,
we don't
I
have
would
any
say-
other. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I want to just say, let's do like one change at a time.
Yeah.
Usually that works better in our profession, right? So let's start with moving the meeting by 1 hour, and then we'll see.
Okay. Perfect. So about the status, we have a dashboard right now, so we can I can share my screen and share it here as well. Okay, so this is the dashboard we have, since we have a label for the workload aware scheduling now. As we can see, we have lots of PRs in review. Some of them are still in draft, so hopefully they will be ready soon. Some of them are not, so hopefully we can start chairman and review them as well. And we have these four already in review and like in progress. I think the first one, which is the most important one, are we going to have it merged soon? Because like this, lots of us depend on this one.
Exactly. We need to submit it as soon as possible because it blocks many other PRs.
Yeah. Is there any blockers?
I asked you to take a look, like another round of review, hopefully the last one, and we will see. Like hopefully he will take a look today, and but yeah, I agree. We need to send it as soon as possible. Like ideally tomorrow, but if not, then we will aim to do it like next day. So we treat it as a really high priority to address all the feedback that we get on the PR, and yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, once we have this merged, I think for me, for the integration with the job controller, I will just need to replace, and this one will be ready as well for review. But for now, if you have time and you would like to review, the last four commits are my work, so please feel free to review it as well. Okay, any other blocker for the PRs open or for any work that we need to discuss?
So we will have two dashboards, and so we will have this one and for sig-scheduling. And there will be definitely some overlap, but yeah, we will take care, I will take care of the sig-scheduling dashboard. I think the overlap are definitely the PRs that are for workload scheduling. But we have put some priorities in which order we need to review those PRs. This is something that we will keep. We have to keep them in sync.
Yeah.
But definitely workload-aware scheduling will be added this code review tab, so you can click on it. It will be easier.
Yeah, this is the sig-scheduling one.
And I added code review for 136 tab.
Yeah, okay.
This one. So it will help us track the review for whole sig-scheduling. Of course, there will be a big overlap, so we have to keep the priorities in both places. But on the other hand, workload-aware scheduling dashboard will contain more items.
Yeah, in the future. But for now, if you would like to for me to create another tab here for the workload aware, just filtering them with this label, this is totally fine as well. It's totally up to us. But I needed to have like the dashboard just for the future work. But again, if we don't have any other work except sig-scheduling for now, we can just have it here in another tab. Kevin?
Yeah, so we have 5 keps, and then I noticed that we only have 2 PRs up for websites work. Are we planning on doing like a large blog or like a documentation update combining all of these? Because I would expect each kep to have that placeholder PR up.
For me, I think I shouldn't have a dedicated feature plug for the bot group. It should be, like combined with the V2.
There's feature blog, and there's also like the documentation for each of the features we're merging, and that's required for the kep. So I noticed maybe we missed it, but like we had, I guess, 5 keps like DRA, TAS.
Yeah.
The pod group, gang
I
scheduling.
I created a placeholder for the bot group because for documentation, I just created a placeholder for that because I know that there is some documentation needs to be added. But I didn't think with Matt and Dominic to see who will document everything related to the like the change happening from API perspective. So one PR will be for everything related to the gang scheduling, APIs, documentation. For others, I think everyone can just add their own. Matt?
Do we need to submit all the documentation changes also by the code freeze, right? Is that correct?
No.
Okay. There's different.
They have to be up.
Empty PR.
Yeah, we need to create a PR, just a placeholder, but the documentation, they have different freeze time. Yeah, it's a little bit late actually, so we're
okay.
Yeah, but the placeholder PR I think has to be up before that. I know that they've been mentioning about reverting PRs if you don't follow that one.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of ours are kind of combined. We might just want to make it clear to the release team that like gang scheduling and then the pod group are all probably the same PR.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This would be, I think, one document PR, one docs PR, but for other like preemptions, topology aware, I think they will be separate. They can be like additive, like on top of this.
Okay, so create one PR for pod group and gang scheduling.
Yes, I created one for pod group, so I think I can add link to the second cap. I think we didn't have another cap, or for the gang scheduling as well. So I will link this the cap for gang scheduling. And
I think gang scheduling and like pod group makes sense, right? Because we'll be basically describing the API changes. I guess like one for the job integration, right? That we also
I created one for the job integration as well.
And then we have like one per feature, which is tasks and the preemption, right? So,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I created the placeholders for the caps that I'm authored, but let's think about this one.
But we are talking about blog post PRs only, not about docs update.
Actually, docs and blog posts. So the docs for the pod group, I think we need to also sync and like align. Otherwise, like we will have 2 PRs almost the same, especially for the part of the APIs documentation.
Okay, so that means we don't need in gang scheduling any of those. Neither post, blog, no. Okay.
Yeah, I will just add to the issues the second cap as well and link it to the cap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we up? I mean, we are updating. Sorry, did we merge documentation about the original gang scheduling support? So there should probably be, like, I guess, an update for updating the existing gang scheduling docs.
This is the one. I will create another one for the feature plug, but I'm not sure who will take it. Like take this task, but I will create just a placeholder.
Like for topology and prevention, we can take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And what about the bot group API and the updates for the gang scheduling feature plug? Will you create?
If there is like anyone else who would be interested in like updating the documentation, then yeah.
So for the feature plug, I will create another one for the like everything related to bot group and the APIs, workload APIs changes, and this release. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, so on our side, we are working like the team in Warsaw on topology and preemption. We are a bit like we were a bit blocked on the workload scheduling cycle PR that like got merged last week. Now everyone waits for the API changes, right? As you said.
I think this one depends on it. Yeah, this one depends on it. Mine depends on it, and the resource.
Basically, everything depends on that topology as well. And unfortunately, anything that does changes to the API, I think all of the caps are doing some small changes, but still, or like consuming this new API like pod group, right? So yeah. So hopefully we merge it like because we have like some PRs written but not reviewed yet because of the fact that the API PR is not merged yet. So yeah.
So about do we have any place that we can see or like know what is the like the task that no one didn't pick it yet, or we didn't have anything like that, like the remaining task, basically remaining tasks?
I need to take a look whether we have like issues for all the tasks on GitHub. I don't know. I will check it. Like yeah.
So for
ask the team as you have asked me on Slack. Basically, we will start using the workload-aware label to like basically tag everything that we are working on, which is like in the scope of workload-aware scheduling. But
yeah, I created an issue for like an umbrella issue for anything related to the APIs as well, and I tried to list all the work items that we might need to cover. I shared it with sig-scheduling and other folks that like I know that they are working on this. So please feel free to create another one for any other topics and let me know, because like I have time now, except for review. I will start review more PRs now, but I have time to implement something else if you would like.
Okay, I will sync with Antoni, who is like owning this on our side, and he's the author of the PR for the API changes. I think most of it is already in this PR.
Yes.
Like we wanted to split into smaller PRs, but in the end, it was easier to just have everything there. Maybe except some tests. So I will like sync with him, and if there is anything that he hasn't started, I will let you know.
Okay, perfect. Any of these PRs we need to discuss? Anything that we need to report?
So we are actively reviewing the topology-aware scheduling PRs. So the placement generator, this is number 5. And yeah, and another one is prepare workload scheduling cycle for placement simulation. So the second one. Yeah, so
yeah, okay. Yeah, this one I have it the first thing in my to-do list today. Yeah, okay, and this one as well. Okay.
Yeah, basically those which are P0s are something that we need to look at in the first place to unblock other work.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Sounds good. I noticed that we have a couple of KIPs that needs to be updated with the latest APIs. Should we create like small tasks for these here for someone to pick them up, or do you have it in some sort of other place? Because we can create like a draft items here.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, Dominic, if you...
Which one requires updates? I think we updated the workload hours preemption.
I'm not sure about like topology. Is topology updated? Because
No, I don't think so.
I saw some like references to the old shape of the API there.
Yes. Yeah, I was reading through it today, and I think it's not updated yet. So at least the APIs needs to be updated. Yeah. So,
frankly,
sorry.
I don't remember, frankly, if we.
That is fine. I think it's independent discussion whether like I think we need a place for like new tasks, right? And the question is whether it should be here.
I didn't create like new issues, but I just created like a draft tasks, and if you can decide later if you would like to create an issue out of this.
Okay, so that's something else. Oh, okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, you can just add item here as draft, create a draft, and this won't create.
That's not yet an issue in.
It's not an issue. Yes.
Okay,
yeah. It's like a draft issue, so no one can see it except here in this dashboard. So I added these two because I know that we need to merge the two caps for the gang scheduling and pod group, the coupling pod group, and to update the topology aware cap. So please feel free to add more tasks here, so I can pick any of them up, or anyone else if they are interested. Kevin?
Okay. Sorry, I'm on mute. The one thing that I know that there's a separate PR on train job for gang scheduling, and then I also saw that there was mentions of discussions around like an API that controllers could use. I am wondering, like, does that mean should we wait until we have like a doc floating around to consider like the job set or train job integrations? I don't think anyone's working on a job set one right now anyway, but
so now it's like on really top of my priorities, and I was planning to start some document about like this controller side API this week and share it by the end of this week. So if that's fine, then I guess it can be like a starting point for the discussions that we can have.
Okay.
Yeah. If that's okay, then I will just do that. Yeah. So
yeah, I don't think there's any rush on it. I was just, yeah.
Oh, I think there is a rush, right? Because like ideally we would have something that we can discuss during the summit. And yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, yes.
So I really want to have something before the summit, at least some ideas that we can discuss, and yeah.
Yeah, in my eyes, the work for the controller integration has to probably happen once 1.36 is out. So like we have time at least on the job set and train job side, because we can't, like, it's more of a pain in the butt to vendor the Kubernetes API, and it's probably worth trying to do.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, that's fine. But yeah, for the summit, I think that it's a good idea to have a draft of that one and at least an idea. So okay.
And cool. Kevin, like, will it be you who will be doing the job set integration, or given that you had like the POCs already, or someone else?
No, probably not. Anu from the job set team She mentioned that she still wants to continue with the implementations.
right.
So
Okay.
I will assume that she is doing that unless spoken otherwise.
Yeah, I know she had some like design doc, but it was like some time ago, and it like
Yeah, I think the idea everyone's sort of waiting for the design and all the implementation stuff to merge to start, kind of see what happens when the dust settles, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So I think that we're probably going to wait until 1.36 now because there's no point in trying to get this based off 1.35 changes.
Yeah.
Go on, Andre.
Yeah, actually, I think I have a kind of like similar question with Kevin around this common API. So I think it would be really nice to have something before the summit. I wish I can be there in person. I mean, but in any case, have I think virtual attendance, right, for the summit to talk about this, the updates. But like from a high level standpoint, we want to design sort of API that all the controllers can reuse, right? So we'll provide the common interface to opt in for this feature, right?
For example, yes. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I think that definitely may be something we should pursue because I think it's definitely will be much easier for adoption for, like to socialize the effort across multiple custom operators. Yeah, and I guess like, here we're talking about the overall workload-aware scaling capabilities, right? DRA, preemption, scalable constraints, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I said, like I will start something this week, share it with you, and we can start working on that asynchronously and like through the doc comments,
Yeah.
etc.
I
And
think
then
on the timeline, yeah.
so we can like discuss if we have like probably we'll have like more things to discuss there. So yeah.
Do we want to have this as part of 137 for job then? Or we don't know yet on the timeline side? Because job also will be affected, right? The job
I would
controller.
say, like you want to have this for like all of the data integrations, right? So whenever some controller reaches data, it should like use this API, whatever it is, whatever it will be, because that's like once in something beta will be hard to actually change the API, right? So
Yeah, makes sense.
But like the problem is that like the API needs to go through alpha. So like so if we know that like job integration will not go to beta like in the next release, but it still means like we should try to have this API for 137 to have it in alpha as an alpha for job to allow for beta API when job integration will be getting to beta, hopefully in 138.
So do we want to have for job API to go to beta in 137?
we won't be
right?
able to, right?
They won't be able to.
Okay.
138 is the soonest we can get, and hopefully we'll have like this API in 137, so it aligns.
Yeah, makes sense.
So like I will share the doc on Slack. Do we have, by the way, do we have the Slack channel already?
We didn't yet. I pinged the Slack admin today. I will try to push as much as I can today to have it. I
will
think
share the scheduling chat unless we have the new channel already. Then I will do it on both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Dominic, if you can add look good to me to the PR for the new Slack channel, I think that might push things a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. So when should we start the conversation related to the opt-in, opt-out options for the job controller and other controllers as well? Do we have anything already written?
That's
or
exactly this for conversation that Matt mentioned. Like the
Yeah.
API, effectively, one of the purposes of the API is like to enable this.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I think for 1.36 we agreed for job to kind of go with more mean,
Yes.
it's not really a POC, or it's kind of like a POC, effectively. Get all the plumbing in place and the testing, and then we can iterate in 1.37, probably with the API to maybe fully solve at least Elastic Job and opt in and out for upgrades.
Yep. Yeah, I just wanted to start this conversation as early as possible because from my experience in the last couple of releases, it might take a lot of time.
Yeah, that's why I think it's actually urgent and we should do it now.
Yes.
And that's why yeah.
Yeah, thank you for starting this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Perfect. Any other item for discussion?
I guess one thing, this is not kind of related to this. I guess I'm on the hook for doing a working group batch talk at KubeCon. And so we wanted to highlight, at least I'm going to talk with the other submitter, but our goal was to kind of highlight the workload aware work stream with working group batch for like the last part of the talk. I'm just letting, I guess you all know, I imagine there's probably other talks going on around workload aware scheduling at KubeCon in addition to the summit.
I don't know. Any one of us has submitted a talk related to workload aware?
Might be in sig-scheduling, I imagine.
Yeah, so we will have sig-scheduling update and actually probably no other talk.
Yeah, this is what I know. We didn't have time to submit any talks because we didn't have anything back then. So I wish we have a couple of talks, but unfortunately, no, we don't. So it's only the contributor summits and sig-scheduling meeting, which is not enough to be honest, but it is what
We'll
it
have
is.
a booth for like both Kueue and workload hour scheduling in a way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll figure out what to put together for it. It's mostly going to be high level, highlighting the features that are going on, and gang scheduling and all the other stuff. So the other two initiatives that I'm a little unclear on tracking is, so I know like last week there was the auto scaling work, and I don't necessarily know like if that's being reviewed by anyone from this group.
Not yet.
Or
for me, not
okay.
yet. Yeah.
And then I know that. Sorry, go on.
Sorry. No, I just wanted to mention that I was like working closely with Pavel, so I'm. There are a bunch of like open questions there, but like conceptually, like I like it.
Okay. And that is good. I guess this does. I will have to think about. Yeah, no, this is interesting. I know that auto scaling also has another API they've been proposing with buffers, and then I start to wonder, like, whether or not, like, part of what I'm wondering from the Q side, and maybe this is something I'll try to find some people to bring up to working group batch, but like, there's a lot of these APIs coming out from auto scaling, and I feel like we need to kind of figure out like which ones we're going to support long term. Because like with the workload aware scheduling, I imagine that's going to be the future. And it sounds like from what I got from the call is all these things will be kind of designed with this as like a first class citizen. But the stuff like provisioning requests and buffers may not have that support. Okay. Nothing by the
in general.
heads.
I mean, everything is still up in the air, and like there are a bunch of open questions here, so it's like nothing is set in stone. But conceptually, provisioning request has a bunch of like drawbacks, which I think we are trying to at least to some extent address here. So, the ideal vision is that like we will effectively support everything that provisioning request supports with the provision capacity, and we will address all its limitation, a bunch of its limitation and problems that it has currently. So I think like provisioning requests, like we don't want to support. Buffers are from a little bit different category to me, like that they are solving a little bit different problems. So like we should discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we have to do it today. I was just, I wasn't clear on if this was a request to review or if the auto-scaling team, I guess they're probably the one reviewing most of this, right?
Yeah, so maybe to give you a little bit more context here, I was the one who asked Pavel to write it down and share as soon as possible, not because I believe this proposal is fully baked and ready and so on, but I would like this to be one of the topics for the summit in Amsterdam, and I want people to get familiar with it so that we have like a more like the deeper discussion there, and to figure out like what are the missing pieces, what will not work, what will be hard with integration, so on. Like we already have some of those discussions internally with cluster autoscaler folks, but I wanted like Carpenter folks to also familiarize themselves with it and share their concerns from their perspective. So I'm fairly sure that like there will be a bunch of changes here, but we will not figure it out like if without that feedback. And like as long as I would like this, like something of that to happen in 137, I think it's like a stretch because there's a lot of things that we need to agree on here in a wider group.
Just one question, sorry, Matt, for that. Are the reservation APIs that we've talked about in the early phases, is it part of this proposal, or it is different, right? It should be different.
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
And are we going to have it in the, are we going to have a conversation related to it in the summit or not yet?
I think we can, although like it's probably like we should discuss the priority, or like what are the priorities from your side. Like I think from like Google's side, reservations are not like super high on the list. Like I think like based on different discussions, like my mental model also evolved, and like I don't think like reservation, like we have a bunch of like more important things to address first, but like if people feel the need for that and it's higher on the priority list, we should like definitely include that. But we should probably we will probably also need someone to drive those discussions.
Yeah. How can we track these conversations? Should we create issues and Kubernetes or enhancement, or should we start a document? How would you like this to be tracked?
I don't have strong preference. Like for me, the doc works best, but like I'm open like for whatever like is most convenient for people. Like
I would say it depends also what you have, right? If you have some user stories which are also important, then maybe just an issue is enough to say we have these gaps, whatever, right? We would like workload-aware scheduling to like provide solution at some point in time. But
I would just say let's not start with KEP. Let's start with some
like with
issue, whatever, like so that we discuss it and we will not be changing the KEP like multiple times.
I wanted to share my 2 cents about this proposal. Like in no way I'm autoscaling expert, but overall, like this is pushing us toward the world where we are doing this like proactive instead of reactive infrastructure autoscaling, right? So we are not reacting anymore to pods being unschedulable, and the scheduler like takes over like this logic or this responsibility, and at the same time it pushes us like toward the state where cluster autoscale is just provider of those APIs, right? Like capacity API, provisioning API. And my biggest worry here is like whether we can actually like compact all this very complex space of all the possibilities that cluster autoscaler is now taking into account when like thinking what node to provision, right? With like node auto provisioning into like some discovery API, right? And like I think here is where I see the biggest challenge. But at the same time, like the goal is great, right? So if we can do that, I guess that will solve a lot of probably problems and like simplify things for the like cluster autoscaler maintainers and the owners. So like Wojtek, any thoughts on that? Like do you believe we can actually express everything that or maybe probably not, right? But whether that's okay, that's a good trade-off that we can.
So no, I don't think we will be able to express everything for sure, because like I think Carpenter folks mentioned that they are considering something like 2,500 different potential shapes or something like that. So that's obviously not like feasible. The question is like and this proposal is going into that direction, like how we can combine multiple different options into like one option from the scheduler perspective, so that like we will not be talking about like 2,000 options, but rather about like 100 or something. Like probably 100 is like an upper bound for what would be possible for like scheduler to reasonably consider. So but like that's a little bit of guess, maybe it's not even 100 or something, but basically we want to like at least in GCP, like we have like many different options that are potentially very similar to each other, and like the different machine families that are quite similar to each other, and like combining those is actually possible into like a single place, but into a single thing. But it's something that like both Carpenter like and cluster autoscaler folks are bringing up, and we don't have like a full solution. It's one of those things that like I mentioned as like open question, and yeah, like the idea here is not to somehow like still abstract this potential capacity from the scheduler, so that it operates on a little bit more abstract way, and then cluster autos or like whatever it is, like provisioner, capacity provisioner, it's not just a simple translation layer from the Kubernetes API to like cloud API, but it actually may have like a non-trivial logic that will be doing the translation and combining different to into a single like option from the scheduler, and then like translating to like fungibility options to the cloud provider and so on. So like it's still a little bit hand wavy, but like that's the goal here, to make it like feasible computationally.
I see. So basically, you're saying like in the potential capacity API will like compact all these like this
Yep.
huge space of all the possibilities, machine shapes, etc., to like some relatively small set. Let's call it like option A, B, C, D, whatever, right? And at the same time, the capacity provisioning will work the same. So we'll just say we want option A, and it will be cluster autoscaler translating this back to probably using some non-trivial logic to actual like request to that. I see.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess the other question, the other work going on is the Kueue integration with workload-aware scheduling. I'm a little unclear if there are discussions going on about that one. I know this is maybe more from the GCP folks, because like there's been some work on Kueue, but I also feel like it sounds like there's some discussions going on with it that may not be.
There are like it's a little bit like on hold for now, because like a bunch of folks who are supposed to help with that on the Q side, or like on the more library side as the first step, are focused on implementation for that is needed for like 136 code freeze. So the tentative plan is that like as soon as we are done with that, so like second half of March, when the code freeze happens, like some of those folks like will help with that. Will start helping with the Kueue integration, like the first step. I'm not sure like how familiar, because there were definitely a bunch of docs shared with the community, but I can't remember from the top of my head like which of those were shared, because we had a bunch of others like internally. I think the most important ones were shared. So, but like but to be honest, I'm not even sure like how if like there was like a commitment from Kueue community to like take the approach of like creating a library and like using that library in Kueue. I think there was, but like I wasn't involved in those discussions, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. That's kind of. I mean, I haven't seen anything shared publicly, or I don't have access to anything, private or publicly, about this.
Let me find it. There was definitely something shared, so let me find, like, try to find it now.
Yeah, I know right now, like the main thing we did in Kueue was to at least run like an end-to-end with the workload-aware APIs enabled, and at least make sure nothing's breaking, which I don't exactly know what that solves, but that was one thing we started moving towards. But yeah, I do have the main questions I'm wondering about is, obviously Kueue and auto scaling, like the provisioning request. It sounds like we probably are going to want to wait for whatever this work is to start thinking about how Kueue would interact with the autoscaler, which is probably through this kind of work. But then there's the topology aware scheduling stuff that I imagine is a large motivating factor of why we're bringing that in tree. So I'm sure that will converge someday, I hope. And then, yeah, and then obviously the preemption is another one that I'm still I'll be curious to see what we do with that one. But anyway, we can maybe just, hopefully that will be discussed at the summit, or yeah, we'll start thinking about that. Oh, thanks. I did not see that doc. One check. That's helpful.
Yeah, please take a look, and like I'm happy to talk about that like next time or whatever.
Yeah, I added them to the agenda doc just for people as a reference. Okay. Any other topic to discuss? Any other question? Perfect. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.